At some point in your life, something begins to feel wrong. Not loud, not dramatic, just off. You may be doing everything right, working, planning, moving forward, yet inside, a quiet tension grows. A sense that the life you're living is too small for something within you. According to Carl Jung, this feeling is not a mistake, and it is not weakness. It is a signal. Carl Jung believed the human psyche contains ancient patterns that awaken when growth becomes unavoidable. One of the most powerful of these patterns is the hero archetype. The hero does not appear when life is easy. The hero appears when avoidance is no longer possible, and whether you recognize it or not, this archetype shapes your struggles, your fears, and your deepest transformations. This is not a story about mythological warriors. This is a story about you. To understand the hero, we must first understand what Carl Jung meant by an archetype. Carl Jung proposed that beneath our personal unconscious, our memories, emotions, and experiences, lies a deeper layer of the psyche, the collective unconscious. This layer is not formed by individual life events. It is inherited. It contains psychological patterns shaped by the repeated experiences of humanity across thousands of years. Archetypes are not specific images or characters. They are patterns of behavior, motivation, and meaning. You don't learn them. You encounter them. This is why heroic stories emerge across cultures that never met. Different symbols, different names, but the same psychological structure. The hero archetype is one of the most fundamental because it is tied directly to human survival and growth. Carl Jung believed the psyche is not passive. It is self-regulating. When a person becomes stuck, psychologically, emotionally, or spiritually, the psyche generates tension to force movement. The hero archetype exists because stagnation is dangerous. A life without challenge eventually collapses inward. Meaning fades, energy drains, neurosis appears. The psyche's emergency system. According to Carl Jung, when conscious identity becomes too narrow, the unconscious responds by activating archetypal energy. The hero is not chosen. The hero is activated. It emerges when the old way of living can no longer contain the person you are becoming. The hero does not awaken during comfort. It awakens during crisis. This crisis may look ordinary on the outside. A failed relationship, burnout, loss of direction, emotional numbness, a sense of inner conflict, but inwardly, it feels profound. Carl Jung believed these moments are initiations, not punishments. The inner call to adventure. This call rarely feels inspiring at first. It feels like anxiety, like restlessness, like a pressure you cannot explain. The hero archetype awakens when the psyche demands confrontation with the unknown. Ignoring this call does not remove it. It only intensifies it. Every hero faces a dragon. In Jungian psychology, the dragon is not a literal monster. It is a symbol. What the dragon represents. The dragon represents the unconscious, especially the parts you fear, repress, or deny. Unresolved trauma, forbidden desires, rage, shame, unlived potential. The dragon guards something valuable because the unconscious always protects what has power. Carl Jung believed that fear marks the location of growth. Where fear is strongest, meaning is closest. The hero's greatest enemy is not the world. It is the shadow. The shadow contains everything you have rejected about yourself. Not only what is dark, but also what is strong, creative, and assertive. Why the shadow must be faced. Carl Jung warned that unintegrated shadow material does not disappear. It acts out unconsciously through self-sabotage, projection onto others, destructive relationships, repeating life patterns. The hero's task is not to destroy the shadow. It is to face it, understand it, and integrate it. Only then does real strength emerge. Every hero must descend. This descent is psychological, not geographical. Carl Jung described this process as entering the unconscious. The necessary breakdown. During this phase, certainty collapses. Old beliefs lose their power. Identity feels unstable. Meaning temporarily disappears. This is why people fear inner work. But according to Carl Jung, this descent is not regression. It is renewal. The hero must dissolve before they can be rebuilt. Carl Jung observed that many psychological symptoms arise not from trauma alone, but from avoided growth. An unlived hero archetype becomes dangerous. The cost of refusal. When the call to transformation is ignored, the energy turns inward. Chronic anxiety, depression, addictions, compulsive behaviors. The psyche will create suffering if meaning is absent, not out of cruelty, but necessity. One of Carl Jung's most misunderstood insights is this: the hero is not the ego. The ego wants control, comfort, and recognition. The hero moves toward uncertainty, ego, death, and psychological growth. True heroism often feels humiliating. It requires admitting ignorance, letting go of old identities, facing inner weakness. Carl Jung believed humility, not dominance, marks genuine psychological strength. Every heroic journey ends with a treasure. But this treasure is not external success. It is inner integration. What the treasure really is. The treasure is greater self-awareness, emotional resilience, a wider sense of identity, a life aligned with meaning. The hero returns not as a conqueror, but as a mediator between consciousness and the unconscious. Carl Jung believed the hero archetype is only one phase of a larger process, individuation. Individuation is the lifelong integration of the psyche into a coherent whole, from hero to whole self. As individuation progresses, the need for heroic struggle softens. Wisdom replaces conflict. Understanding replaces conquest. The hero eventually steps aside, not because it failed, but because its task was completed. Carl Jung also warned of the inflated hero. This occurs when the ego identifies too strongly with the archetype, when heroism turns dangerous. The inflated hero seeks superiority, moral righteousness, control over others. This leads not to growth, but tyranny, inward or outward. True heroism remains humble. You do not need monsters or myths to live the hero archetype today. Modern heroism looks quiet, facing difficult truths, ending destructive patterns, taking responsibility for one's inner world, choosing meaning over comfort. According to Carl Jung, the modern hero's battlefield is psychological, and the stakes are real. The hero archetype never disappears. It waits. It waits for moments When your life demands more honesty, more courage, more depth, you may resist it. You may postpone it, but eventually the call returns, stronger, clearer, unavoidable. Carl Jung believed that a meaningful life is not one without struggle. It is one where struggle serves transformation. And when you choose to face what frightens you most, not to destroy it, but to understand it, you step into the oldest story humanity has ever told, the story of the hero and the journey inward.